Yeah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Viewers of Gunjur Online TV, welcome to another episode of Daily COVID-19 Update. Today, we'll be talking about the spike in death rates among our senior citizens, more especially our religious leaders. If you have been a keen follower in the social media, you've seen death rates, as a result of COVID-19 infections has spiked in the Gambia, but much more especially our senior citizens and also our religious leaders. Even though religious leaders, they form very small percentage of our population, but the disproportionate rate among them should be a concern. I will try to explain why this might be the case. Since I have issues. Okay, sorry about that. Since I have issues with my connections. So, but as usual, before I discuss my topic of discussion of the day, I will give you a brief update about the COVID-19 statistic as of today, um, August 19th. Um, since this pandemic announced itself to the world, so far 22,440,373 people got infected. Out of that, 787,111 died as a result of COVID-19 infections. The good news and the best part is 15,146,450 survived. So this is a clear indication that if the medical facilities are okay, if government put right measures in place, the survival chance of COVID is very high, in fact up to 80 percent. But if you go to Gambia right now, this is just about 66% chances of survival. If you have COVID-19, and 34% chance of actually dying. So currently, the number of people actually working with COVID-19, those who are currently infected, stands at 6,506,812. And out of that, 6,444,777 in mild conditions. Like these are the group which include the asymptomatic one. These are the group that are infected, but they don't even know they have the virus, except that they are tested positive because they are part of the contact of the other positive cases. But large significant amount going down with headache, fever, sore throat, persistent cough, and some with loss of sense of smell and taste, and also a rash on the tongue. That these are atypical symptoms which people should be very careful of. So if you have a small fever, all of a sudden you can't taste or smell anything. If you are in Gambia, you should call 1025. Unfortunately, that number, there is a lot of issues with it. Maybe it's not properly, it's not adequately manned. That means there is not many people to receive calls, because there are a lot of complaints. People have been calling the number and nobody is picking. On occasion, when they pick, they will tell you it's not their responsibility, to actually attend to patients. So it's, a lot of confusions around that particular number. But that being said, still continue to call it until we have other options. But I believe with the increased spike in numbers, I believe this situation should be solved by the health authorities. Um, Right now, 62,035 people are critically ill. This critically ill population will need a hospital stay at some time, most of them intensive care. And as of today, still there is no definite cure for COVID-19. The cures that have been mentioned, they are still surrounded with controversy, the side effects and all that. So, but it can be managed. If you go to hospital, especially with breathing difficulties, you can be fitted with mechanical ventilators or other breathing device where you can be given concentrated oxygen. to supplement the oxygen that your body can take by its own self. So it can be managed. The total number past 24 hours across the world, stands at 142,920 cases past 24 hours alone, and 3,592 deaths. And America recorded 12,751 cases and 462 dead. Brazil, 6,434 new cases, 152 dead. And India, 67,000 new cases, 67,951 new cases past 24 hours, and 964 dead. And Russia recorded 4,828 cases. So countries that are very close to Gambia, which as long as there are numbers there, Gambia is not out of the woods. I keep mentioning that even when Gambia, it seems, going to ride the worst part of this pandemic. I keep mentioning, but unfortunately, our government officials are not listening. In fact, the interview by Dr. I forgot his name again, the Director of Health Services of the Gambia. They actually think they do a research. We told them actually this virus will peak in the Gambia around May, June, which turned out to be completely a wrong finding, because as we have seen, the virus start picking up from the middle of July to now, and that's what WHO actually predicted between June and July. And the way things are, I've just seen pictures of today's update. I'm not sure how, but I need to find that out. Today, I've seen today's pictures. They're not looking good at all. The numbers continue to stack up. And, even though they're giving us numbers, I don't believe these numbers are anywhere near accurate. I think they are overwhelmed with the situation. They are struggling to even give us an accurate report. But even if you are not in the ground, but you are on the social media, the death rate in the Gambia right now is completely abnormal. We're not used to seeing this kind of number of deaths in the Gambia around this time of the year. So numbers for the countries that are close to the Gambia. Ivory Coast so far recorded, they are leading in that respect, 17,150 cases so far. And past 24 hours, they recorded 43 new cases. Senegal, still numbers continue to stack up. They recorded 12,446 cases so far, and past 24 hours, they recorded 141 new cases. Mauritania recorded 6,789 COVID-19 cases so far, and past 24 hours, 27 new cases. And Guinea-Conakry so far recorded 8,715 cases, and past 24 hours, they recorded 95 new cases. So Gambia and Mauritania are not doing too well, and Senegal also. Mali so far recorded 2,666 cases, and past 24 hours they recorded 26. Guinea-Bissau, their numbers for past 24 hours are not yet in, but so far they recorded 1,951. And Gambia, so far they recorded 2,288 cases. Past 24 hours, they recorded 172 new cases and 13 new dead. Wow. Yeah, so we're not doing too well. Things are going from bad to worse, and anytime you open the Facebook, it's all about obituary. But what is not actually normal about is the disproportionate high number of death among our senior citizens, especially our imams. So I will try to give some explanation to this why we have so many religious leaders or imams dying of COVID, actually related deaths, because these are our focal points. You know, during the good times and the bad times. When it's time for marriage, we go to our imams. When it's time for Christian ceremonies, it's time for imams. So any kind of gathering, they will be right at the center. So that's why the government need to come with a sort of a training schedule for these very important members of our community, and train them, and also or teach them that we are in a pandemic. You know, things are far from normal at this point of time, so they need to be extra careful, and they need to be trained how to receive people in their own homes, and also when they are in public, how to handle themselves, and also even supply them with PPEs that they can use, but they are user friendly, that they won't scare or they won't cause alarm when they are called into public. I mean, in the good times, that is christening ceremonies, marriage ceremonies, you know, and also the leading the prayers and all that. But also, these people lead, when there is a death in the community, they are the first point of call. So, if, for example, an imam is called to somebody who died maybe at home, and that person happened to die of COVID, and they happen to wash that person and also prepare them for the burials, they become infected. In that case, in fact, they not only pose dangers to themselves, because once the imam or a religious leader or a community leader become infected, they can become super spreaders. What do we call super spreaders? These are the people that, for some reason, either it's because of the viral load in their bodies, or because of the number of people they actually have close contacts, they tend to spread the virus more than anybody. And if our, say, our imam, local imam, happen to be COVID positive, that imam, for it them to be super spreaders is very easy, because if they are in the mosque, most of the time they will be reciting the Quran at the top of their voices, and the more you talk, the more you generate more aerosol into the atmosphere, and this is how the virus hang in the atmosphere, and people in your congregation can start getting it. And normally the same people, after an hour, they will come back again. You know, the imam will spread more virus. So this is why those who are agreeing that if the markets are open, the mosque also should open. It's a completely different dynamics, because the mosque actually an enclosed system, and not most of the time they are poorly ventilated. So say if one person who is a regular at that mosque, say the imam is positive, he will come early morning prayers, he will be reciting in loud voice, at the top of his voice. So if we happen to be positive, the more you shout, the more aerosol you generate, and that means the more virus you generate around that mosque environment. So those in the first row, you know, might end up catching it, because during the prayer, maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes that prayer takes, they will be inhaling a lot of virus coming from the imam. So the imam will come back again um, at um, the imam will come back again in the morning, afternoon prayer. This time he will be reciting at the audio voice, but still he will be generating aerosol. And who knows, he might be sneezing, like say he start developing the symptoms. He might be sneezing, he might be coughing. So for, you know, Gambia, most of the people are still not sticking to this face masking. So if, for example, an infected imam starts sneezing, those in the first row, they got their dose in the morning, and in the afternoon again they will come and get their dose. So maybe those in front row will be at the back row, and those in the back row will be in the first row. So you can see the dynamics, what is happening, why it's sensible to close the places of worship, because people, normally the same kind of people come in, but in this different time. Sometimes you are in the front, sometimes you are in the back row. But again, even not imam, one of the the regulars of the mosque can be infected. Say he's standing in the top row or in the middle row, and for some reason he happened to sneeze in the middle of the prayer. So 2 meters this side, let's say 1.5, 1.5 the front, 1.5 right side, 1.5 left side, and 1.5 meters behind. Anybody there have the chances of catching the virus. So if this should continue for 5 days, how many people, like, you keep mixing, people go in different direction, and people will start developing symptoms. So that's why we've seen in the US certain churches, once somebody got it, you have people, lot of people coming the same from that kind of mosque, or church with COVID-19. We don't want to see that. That's why we should support, we should respect the government decision to close down places of worship, whereby in the market, even though most markets are open and people are always in the move, you don't find people standing at one place in most of the in the market, and that will be maybe the shop owner. So they are more prone to catching the disease than just normal market regulars. But normally people will be on the move. So if they can control, if they can insist people wear these masks, it's easier to control the spread in the market than in enclosed mosque where people are seated or standing side by side for at least 5 minutes. The chances of catching the virus is very high. And also in the mosque, you have some people will come early, take their Quran and start reading it in a loud voice. So if you are reading the Quran, you are generating a lot of aerosols, and who knows, you might even infect that particular Quran. So virus will be on the side, on the cover, and next prayer somebody can come again and go and pick that Quran and touch their nose. If you go to any of the mosques now in Saudi Arabia, they empty them all. There is no Quran. They take them all out. And social distancing is strictly observed, because they make marks. These marks are 1 meters apart, and in the front also 1.5 meters apart. That's how we pray. And they make sure it's a law. If you violate it, you can be charged up to 10,000 Saudi riyal, which is about 3,000 US dollars. You have to go with your own, you have to go in a face mask, and everybody have to go with their mat. Because if all of us didn't go with our mat, say you are in a prostration position and you happen to sneeze, but actually, even if you don't sneeze, when you are in prostration, you have to recite 3 times, 5 times, 7 times, whatever. While you are doing that, you are generating aerosol, and this can, seed your prostration area for the virus. So next prayer, somebody else might come there and they go right in their face into where you actually infected in the previous prayer. So these things have to be explained. So the reason why I think we are seeing disproportionate death among our religious leaders is that because they have to be in this mosque, and they have to encounter different people. They don't even know where some of them are coming. It's not uncommon for people to be in certain area, and it's time for prayer. They ask, where is the nearest mosque? They go there. They might be infected. So you cannot say, well, we know each other, but you don't know. This is the virus which you can be carrying for 14 days before you even know that you have the virus, or before you even feel any kind of symptoms. But in that gap, you can transmit the virus. So this is the danger our religious and community leaders face, because when in the good time, when you have a christening, when you have a baby, for that christening ceremony, you have to go and get the imam will come. The elders of the community will come. And these people sit in very, very close confines, even though it's an open space, but they close very close together. So if one person among them happen to be COVID positive, he can spread it. And that's why I fear this is the situation that might happen in Biri Memorial. Because you look at that crowd, you look in the mosque, the elders, talking in that mosque, most of them are gone down with COVID, and some of them unfortunately have disease already. So from there, I observe maybe this might be the reason why we, in recent days, we have a lot of religious leaders dying, and conversely, the the churches, they closed church service. They wrote a circular once as soon as the government announced. They wrote a circular and say, you know what, we're going to suspend all these church service until further notice. I think that it's a good thing, but in the Muslim community, some people are still insisting that they will pray in the mosque, including my own dad. Unfortunately, I try to prevail over him, but he's not yielding. He's not understanding. He's still, in fact, skeptical about the entire virus. This is rather unfortunate, because anybody who watched TV past 7, 8 months, you know that the world is faced with a serious pandemic. You don't have to be a virologist or an immunologist to understand that. We will continue to preach, we'll continue to sensitize. This is why I challenge everybody. You hear the information, that you think help you, or it open your eyes to the virus. Please, I challenge you to go to 5 people and transmit that information to them, and challenge each and every one of those 5 people to go and transmit this information to another 5 people. In that way, people will be educated. Once people are educated, they will respect, they will understand, and they will respect government decision. The sad part in our communities is that most African countries, or most African citizen population, they don't respect their government, and that is understandable, because our government, they are fond of lying. They're fond of lying. Over the years, they've been lying to us so much so that there is no trust. So it's not uncommon to see Gambian thinking, okay, government are spinning all this misinformation so they can get help from the international community, the money which can they use on their self. Or they're using it for political ends. They don't want election to come. It's a delay tactics and all that. There is no truth in that. For once, I think we need to sit back and just look at the community you are. Is it normal, the amount of death rates in your particular community? Is that normal? Is that what you've been used to previous years? No, the answer will be a definite no. So what is responsible? As they say in Mandinka, Sulutambita Barim Filita. There is a pandemic. We know there is a pandemic. So with all this death spike, even if you don't believe your government, you know that something is abnormal, and that can only be COVID. So what can we do to protect our religious leaders and community leaders? If these government, they don't think ahead, and they don't, I don't think they respect the data, and even if they don't act quickly enough. So as community members, what I'm advising, if you happen to have an elderly dad who is always called upon, when there is a christening ceremony, or when there is a death, maybe somebody in the community that always volunteer to watch the dead and to prepare them for burial. Sit them, tell them, look, we live in an unusual situation. There is a pandemic going, and this virus is very, very, very infectious. We don't know actually the infectious dose. That means the total number of virus one need for you to be infected with. That is called infectious dose. It's not properly established. But one thing we know, it must be very small. This virus can spread very, very quickly. And even people who might look healthy to you, in fact, they are healthy, because you go into disease stage when you start displaying the symptoms. But we know with COVID, you can be transmitting, you can be infecting people, even when you're not showing any sign of symptoms. So sit our elders down, our imams. Let's talk to them directly, and tell them, stress to them, the preventive measures. The face mask will not is not protective. The clothes, the surgical face masks we are designing and using now will not protect you. But what it does, it will stop you from infecting another person. For example, if I happen to have a face mask now, I'm talking, the aerosol, instead of going into the atmosphere, it will stop with me. So if everybody wear a face mask, it's protective. That means I cannot infect you. You cannot infect me. I cannot transmit the virus to you, and you can transmit the virus to us. So let's teach our elderly population how to properly put on the mask. The mask should be on the bridge. It should come here in the bridge of your nose. But if you put it here, you will be able to breathe. I think this is a common problem in the Gambia. Not many people are putting on these masks briefly. And the mask is not here. It's not here. It's for here. You need to come here and you need to cover up to here. So you can breathe freely, but when you talk or when you sneeze, your aerosol that is coming from your mouth or your nose stays with you. Stays with you. So that's why before you wear your mask, make sure you wash your hand thoroughly with soap, a minimum of 40 seconds. If you don't have a soap, use alcohol based hand sanitizer. Put it on your hand, a generous amount, and rub your hand until it's completely dry. Then you take your clean mask and wear it. Tie it properly. So that it's not loose, because if it is loose, you will keep adjusting it. You want to make sure it stays in your nose. In that way, you can end up infecting yourself, because your hand can be contaminated with the virus. So that's not good. And also these cloth masks, the maximum you can wear them is 4 hours. Once you go out, you come with them, put them aside and wash them. Take a new one. So everybody should have at least a pair minimum, because they are so light. If you put them even inside the house somewhere, once you wash them, they should dry quickly, and while you take the other pair. So everybody should have at least a pair. And also face masks, you don't touch the front, because this is where, when you talk, that's where your spit or your aerosol coming from will stop. So if you touch here, that means you infect your hand. If it has happened accidentally, you should go and wash your hands straight away. So let us be smart, and talk to our and educate and sensitize our elderly people. Tell them, look, we need you. These are the people who hold our communities together. So we need them. They are as important as any segment of our communities. The good and the bad time, we need them. So let us try to protect them as much as possible. And also in the homes, advise them to observe social distancing. Tell them, what, we wish we can be so close to you and all that, but we are in the middle of pandemic. You need to isolate. You help them. And also make it obvious to them. Yeah, they can go exercise, they can take their beats and go walk around the compound a couple of times and come back, especially the door time, because we need the sunshine also for our daily vitamin D production, so it can keep our immunity healthy. And also tell them to eat well, like the fresh vegetables, the citrus fruit, orange, lemons, and tomatoes. Help them to boost their diet. These are the kind of food that can help modulate our immune system. It can make us stronger against the virus. So as I mentioned, I come to the end of this program. Just to paraphrase again, there is a disproportionate number of deaths in our elderly population, especially our religious leaders. I think the reason is because the good and the bad time, these people have to be present. So their chances of contacting people with COVID also increases. But especially our imams, they have to, if they are in the mosque, people come from everywhere. Once you have one infected person in the front row, can infect the imam, and that's why we have these death rates. So let us try to protect them, and we can do that by being smart. Still, the hand washing is very, very relevant. We need to be regularly washing our hands, and with soap for 40 seconds, with general amounts of soap. If you don't have soap and you have alcohol-based hand sanitizer, you can use that. And also, let us stay in our houses, in our homes, as much as possible. But if we need to go out, let us try and wear the face mask and the right way. Face masks, you don't tie it here. Face mask come here up to the bridge of your nose. You tie it and underneath your chin, and also regularly wash these face masks. The maximum time you can wear a particular face mask is 4 hours. So if you put on a face mask, you go to the market. When you come back, wash it and put it somewhere and take a new one and wear it if you need to go out. So also, even if you have a face mask and you happen to be in a funeral or in a christening ceremony, please try to keep a safe distance from other. That is 2 meters, minimum 1.5 meters to the next person. Don't say, well, they are not observing social distance. I'm not. No, two wrong doesn't make a right. Protect yourself. So thank you very much for your time. Inshallah, tomorrow Ben will be here at the same time. We are reviewing the talking points of the past week in the Gambia, and I hope you'll join us. And thank you very much for your audience. And please share this audio video so it can get to as many people as we can. Thank you very much.
Nande ati kodi di go ba for the